I am so very happy to be here with you, Julie. I had such a wonderful time spending with you at NFT.NYC this last year, coming on your Instagram live with Charlie for How To with Julie Sue. I love seeing all of the amazing stories that you tell and the content that you produce. And it's not just in the NFT.NYC environment, which you were so vital to the collaborative effort last November. But it's all these different places where you're participating and making things better, multiplying the effort of others, and being just an amazing part of kind of a rising tide, raising all ships. For those that may not know who you are, can you please introduce yourself? And then we'll have a fun conversation talking about the things that matter to us in the NFT space.
Oh, I agree. Hi, how are you, Ian? It's great to be here with you. I'm Julie Lamb. I am the CEO and founder of How To with Julie Sue. It's an Instagram live show. It amplifies voices of those in the creator economy. I'm a storyteller and executive producer. I get to be a part of producing in real life events with awesome people like you, awesome people like the team at NFT.NYC, our team members from last year, like Charlie Cavalier, Cam Smith, Peter Schwing, Nira. Think about all of our stage managers, Jane, who was, I mean, I could go on with the list of the team that we had, Alyssa, Jordan, the team of, again, the list can go on and on of who we had with our volunteers and our teams that were there, that we collectively did something extraordinary in real life. And I'm proud to say that as a storyteller, executive producer, I guess that's just a fancy title for connector and unicorn herder.
That's right. You put unicorns on the moon. You do a lot of things for people. And in many ways, you've had great success with the things that you've put effort in. The success you've had on Instagram, I think, is really significant. The fact that you came in to help us in November with NFT.NYC and the impact that you had, really significant. When I saw what you were doing in Miami, just I think in March, like it was meaningful, your contribution as an executive producer and supporting these IRL events. At NFT.NYC this year, we're very thankful to have you be one of the speakers. And I was reading through kind of the narrative of what it is that you're going to be sharing about tied to social. One of the things that you wrote is this thought of how to break through the noise and barriers of entry using social tools. Do you want to chat a bit with me now about kind of that topic and what you hope to bring the community at the event, June 20th through the 23rd?
Thanks for asking the question, because I think we're so blessed or lucky or privileged to have this opportunity to use tools that we've never had before. I say that, and I also want to recognize that it's not a solo mission. It is a team effort to make something happen. Nothing that I've ever been a part of is or has ever been a solo mission. It is to the strength of all of those that come to the table and bring their super secret powers, or maybe their superpowers that they are learning about, or maybe they're able to manifest them because they're really clear on what their superpowers are. So it's a real team effort to make something happen. And to recognize that in someone, I was very lucky early on, I'd like to say, when someone met me as just a noob creative in the space when I was 18 years old and knew that art was going to be my life, that folks that I met, when you stepped in front of them and you said who you were, they believed you. And there wasn't the doubt in their mind that you weren't going to fill in the blank. Are you going to be someone who is a creator? Are you someone who is a producer? Are you someone who's going to be a venture capitalist? Are you going to connect the world through purpose and intent? Like, what is it that drives you? And if what drives you is a social stature, then some kind of social currency, if you will, might even be more powerful than money. And if you know who that is, how can that work for you? The great thing about social media, to break through the noise, is that we have access to the analytics. And we can say, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we represent. This is my tribe. This is my community. I love this community. And with social media, and in our world with NFTs, Twitter is the go-to space. It's where people will go for credibility. You see a new project and you're like, not a rug pull. And you're going to call one of your good friends. I'm going to call you, Ian, or I'm going to call anybody else in my tribe. I'll call Charlie or Benny or Cam or Alyssa or anybody who's in my tribe. And I'll say, and the tribe keeps growing every day. It's not exclusive, it's inclusive. Like the table can get bigger and bigger. We can put more chairs at the table. I do not mind. It can be a room full of chairs. The table can be as big as we want it. Nobody is excluded. The people who are excluded are those who don't have the passion to connect and be a part of the community to make, others and amplify their voice. So there might not be room for someone who's a naysayer completely, but we also don't mind naysayers because it can help us learn. And with social media, that's another thing about breaking through the noise, Ian, is part of social media is a dialogue. It's not a monologue. And if we hear from naysayers that they might not like something, then we can pause and go, do I need to change that? Is that something that needs to be adjusted? Okay, I don't always want to hear the same voices at the table. So I don't know, maybe I can correct myself a little. There's room for everybody. Even if you're a naysayer, come to the party. We'll roll up a chair for you.
One of the focuses for NFT.NYC this year is diversity. The diversity of projects, the diversity of art, of sound, with musicians jumping in, the diversity of communities. So I want to talk about diversity in context of what you just wrapped up and what you're likely going to be doing between now and NFT.NYC. So, at NFT.NYC, we unexpectedly grew our event from a couple hundred people to almost 10,000 people came out to New York. It was a wild explosion. This year, we anticipate and maybe 15,000 people, June 20th through the 23rd. But you just wrapped up something in Miami. And so that gave you a whole nother view of diversity because different people were running that event and different people came to participate. And because you're involved with VFriends and a collector of VFriends, and I'm assuming maybe you're looking forward to what's going to happen with VCon coming up. And so you see all this diversity, right? It's not just projects and utility, but it's also the way people are bringing events, right? We're not the only people that are gathering community in a decentralized fashion, say, come to our event and build events on top of ours. There's others that are doing the same. So can you talk a bit about just what you see in the ecosystem being developed, whether it's things that you got to learn in Miami in March or things you're maybe looking forward to in the next week or two with VCon?
Oh, that was one of the things going into Miami NFT Week that was so important for me is when I was approached by the co-founders to come participate, we really made a collective effort to make sure that a lot of voices were heard. It's important for me to be a vessel to make sure that I elevate women's voices. I help share information and mentor maybe the underserved communities wherever they might be. And that might include some type of socioeconomic underserved communities. It could be ethnic, it could be generational, it could be geographical, right? So to me, being able to speak on behalf of someone who might be a 9-year-old NFT artist and his or her family, supporting them and understanding what community is about and how to use current tools, perhaps social tools, to stay connected. But also, what about the person who maybe because during the pandemic, they retired early? Maybe it was the right time for them to retire from a chronological time for them, but they're still very relevant in making something happen. And I'm super proud during our November NFT.NYC event, we employed on the management team at least half women, and we made sure to bring in an older section of the population to be a part of our teams, be volunteer teams. I think we had 15 to 20 different managers on site and then over 125 volunteers. And to know we leveled the playing field for equality was a big deal for us. We neutralized any of those stories that might come out that it's only one sect of a community. That's not the only part of the community. A lot of people like to use nicknames or things that we might hear, which are tough for me because I don't know. I don't feel comfortable saying them because maybe somebody resonates with that. And then if I say that, then it might sound like it's judgmental. And if I'm not part of that quote culture right then, and I'm calling it out, I'm not being equal. I know that when we step up, if we could all just be digital code, live on the blockchain, right, and be minted, it wouldn't matter how old we are. It wouldn't matter that I'm a girl and you're a guy and you live where you live and I live where I live and what our interests are. We know what our interests are when we're on the blockchain because we're not fungible. So for me, that's what's important about NFT.NYC is making sure that we, pardon that, I didn't put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
It didn't impact it. But
Okay.
I'm looking at the view behind you, and it's reminding me of something about you in that when I think of Manhattan, you come to mind. And when I think of you, New York City comes to mind. It's your town. It's where you love. And it was really a kind of a ghost town with events for a year and a half. And then NFT.NYC came in and tried this very ambitious idea of what if we have hundreds, then thousands, then maybe 10,000 people come. What if we rent all the billboards and create this crazy ecosystem? And so I think that was meaningful for New York City. And I think this event coming up is not like the next big thing, because now events are starting to happen and things are starting to open up. But can you just talk about New York City and how it's significant in your mind for local people that this event continues to happen in Times Square, and what New York brings to the table and what the community is bringing to the table for New York and New Yorkers and the businesses that are there?
You know, we were decimated with the pandemic. And I say in New York, I'm collectively putting myself in we. It's not my town. I'm a part of the town. You know, I mean, all of the songs are true when you listen to Frank Sinatra or Alicia Keys, you know, or if you're a Yankee fan or a Met fan, or, you know, if you just come to New York City because you're visiting and you go to Broadway. I came to New York City over 30 years ago as an artist with a dream, and New York City took care of me. You know, I mean, some parts of it test you, right? You learn. My friends that I met the very first days and weeks and months that I was new to New York City, they're still my friends. We have long relationships forged through art and community, and that hasn't changed. And when we were decimated with the pandemic, I had some friends who were longtime New Yorkers that chose to leave. And you know, listen, when you're afraid for your family or you're just seeing a change, and a few people said, and I'm going to paraphrase now because I don't remember the exact wording, but like, New York's over. We're leaving. We're out of here. We're going to go to our country home or our, you know, place in Aspen, or we're going to go move to another town or another city where I'm in the mountains or I'm not around a lot of people. And from the information that we had at the time, I'm not going to say that wasn't, that was a personal choice. I chose not to leave. I wanted to make sure that New York City was cared for, and that we as really New Yorkers were going to bring it. And I said to my friends, I go, you guys, come on, don't bet against New York. Something's going to come back. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be young. It's going to be green. It's going to be forward thinking. All these business buildings, if the businesses don't come back, they're going to start turning into work-life ecosystems that make us as you know, people who live here. Maybe, you know, I look at like the Google ecosystem, or where you go in and it's work-life balance, where you're at a job, but you also have your gym and your grocery stores. That's one thing I love about Miami is the buildings in Miami. A lot of them have their own grocery stores. They have their own ecosystem. So some things about Miami, they're definitely forward thinking, right? They didn't close down for very long at all during the pandemic, but I'll go back to New York. So when I met Jody and you and Cameron and the team that was bringing NFT.NYC back to New York, it really made me feel like there was hope again, and that there was something new and something fresh and something possible. And I could believe with another group of people who wanted to come to the city and also believe with me. And I knew that if that was supported, that it would bring consumers coming back to the city, spending money at the local grocery stores, bodegas, restaurants, Broadway, hotels. I had the hotel manager of Edison come to me on the last day during breakfast. And Ian, this still to this day it gets me emotional, and it really makes my skin tingle thinking about it. He said, "Thank you so much, because for the first time in 2 years, I have a house again full of chambermaids and reservation staff and security officers. The last time I had our break room full of people when I had our morning meeting is when I had to tell people that I had to let them go after 40 years. I had Fraternal Order of Police come up to me in the middle of Times Square and hug me and say, I know what you guys are doing. This is so good. I have overtime. We actually can get my kids a Christmas present this year. My wife can actually, for the first time in a couple of years, go out and do something special for the dinner table so we can have something that was on it. So NFT NYC meant more to me than only our NFT community and the curiosity seekers and thought leaders that we are. It represented to me the opportunity to build New York City back, to support it, to bring a new life back into the space by putting massive displays on the digital screens in the middle of Times Square, by putting, again, Fraternal Order of Police to work overtime as security officers, or people back on Broadway, restaurant owners supplying staff again so we can eat and feel like we were normal. It really, NFT NYC was the thing that I knew was going to help inject life back into the place that I've always called home.
There was a lot of really amazing things that happened. I love your perspective of last year, your hope that was fostered from last year, the fact that you were part of creating all that, that it wouldn't have been the same without you. In fact, maybe our team would have fallen apart without your participation. But when you think forward to this year, maybe this is where we could wrap up our conversation. When you think forward to June, what would you like to see happen at this event, NFT NYC in June, that would be an enhancement, a development, a maturing, a broadening of what we had in November? What type of thing or things are you longing to see in terms of diversity in the event and in the expression of what happens on our stages and all the other little events that will happen around our main show?
I love the idea of a large community coming together. I do like a lot of people coming to New York City because it's a big space on a little tiny rock. I like the idea of going very granular. I love the idea of satellite events. I love the idea of pre-gaming. I love the idea of night parties. I love the idea of us connecting and letting our hair down. But most importantly, what I really like about NFT NYC and any of the events that have come up before, during, around, or and I'll get to that point in just a second, is the educational component that we all can learn from each other because of the footprint that we've maybe had, maybe only a few weeks ahead of the person in front of us, or a month ahead, or 6 months ahead, or we can bring that Web 2 life into Web 3 and all of those, like, I guess what you would say, that value-based system that has been a part of our life since before this whole NFT explosion, that we can bring that in and create and maintain a community that when we look back, we say, wow, it's been 30 years and we met at NFT NYC. And that in itself is a big deal, knowing that it's got longevity, we have legs, we're firmly rooted in the ground. And so that's the important thing that I'm looking forward to, is the education, the continued connections, and knowing that we're all a big part of this together and this collective.
Well, I must say that you inspire me. I think I've already said it. I'll say it again. People should know that you are a very inspirational storyteller, marketing geek, connector, executive producer, NFT collector, and investor. And there's so many things that make up who you are. And one thing that I want people to understand is that I've been on a lot of live streamed social media things, on the Instagrams and the Facebooks and the YouTubes of the world, been on a lot of stages, interviewed by a lot of people on panels and fireside chats. You are so uniquely gifted at hosting people and bringing out the best in people, bringing out the gold in people. And so I want to make sure that you remind people what you said in the beginning about How To with Julie Sue, and that folks understand that at least they should tune into Instagram on a regular basis when you do it, and then maybe if they'd be a good guest, how would they reach out to you? Do they DM you on Instagram? Because I just found it to be a life-giving experience to be with you and Charlie. And I want to make sure other people understand that, and that they can at least watch, if not participate in some way.
Oh, I really like Instagram as a vertical, and I know it's a big part of the Zuckerberg empire. And maybe next week that'll change and shift. But currently right now, it's something that I like. I like the analytics of it. I like posting pictures. I like posting video. I like the live, easy to get to it at, and then it's just as it sounds, it's spelled out. How to with Julie Sue, you know, HOWTOWITH. Let me spell that again. HOWTOWITHJULIESUE. But more importantly, you guys, it's easy to find me. I'm Julie Lamb. You can find me on LinkedIn. Easy breezy. That's how we all do the business together. And then on Twitter, it's easy to find people on Twitter. But between the two, I know Ian, we talk to each other on text. We call each other old school on the phone. We both know ETH does not sleep, nor does event planning and production. I know you guys are very busy planning the event, and I'm excited to share some of the other in real life events that are happening. You know, we can all stay connected for the things that happen pre, post, during. Like, I'm going to go back to where I said I'm going to put a bookmark and come back. I feel like I'm probably one of the few mere mortals that have participated in South by Southwest on lots of different ways since the beginning of time. When I like to say dinosaurs roamed the earth, 1986, when it first started, before the year before it started, when the thought of it started. And nothing about South by Southwest has changed, but everything has changed. The connections haven't changed. Meeting old friends haven't changed. Meeting and finding new music or new films or making connections with interactive, that hasn't changed. But what has changed is all of these things that I'm seeing happen the same way for NFT.NYC, that it starts on a certain date at a certain time, and then other things come before it, other things come after it. People come in and share their journey and their stories, and that we're all a big part of this collective. Now, South by is over 10 days, over 2 weekends. It started out over 3 days. And I look forward to celebrating the success of NFT.NYC, where we can say, wow, remember when it was November 2021 and it had grown, it was its third year and we did our first explosion, but it was still only 3 days. Now look at us. We're 10 days, we're 2 weeks. We are talking about Web3, inclusiveness, diversity, DAOs, DeFi, cryptocurrency, metaverse. We really are going outside. And then what else? We don't know what's next, Ian. But together we get to discover it. And that to me is exciting.
Well, that's where we're going to end our conversation today, on the declaration of being excited about what is and what is to come. For those that have not yet committed to coming to the event, you are welcome. And I encourage people that haven't decided to come to join us June 20th through the 23rd to do so soon, because as we did last year, we anticipate selling out of tickets again. We already have sold way more tickets 2 months away from the event than we had at our event last year. And so we are excited as a community. Julie, you bring a lot of enthusiasm to our network. We're very thankful for you, as I've said several times, and well-deserved for that to be heard by you and to be heard by others over and over again. Julie, thank you for joining me. For anybody that watches us live or sees the archive of this, thank you for your attention. We look forward to spending time with all of you in June.